we've been drinking beer, and we'll be drinking when you get here. Thinking, will I ever be sober? Hoping this will never be over. And I'm drinking beer, and I'll be drinking when you get here. We started drinking liquor, so
welcome everybody. We are back for another week of what?
Reunited, and it feels so good.
It feels so good. We're among friends tonight on the Beer and Bullshit podcast with myself, Corey McGee, back from the depths of business school.
I guess so. Yeah.
You're like Ryan from The Office, right? It takes evening business school and suddenly grows a beard and
comes back.
He does
like
grow a beard at one point. You're right.
My friend Jason Boissneau joining us on volume 35 of the Beer and Bullshit podcast.
Already 35. Wow, you would assume
already. Yeah,
assume we've been like 58 by now.
Well, it's not like you had 2 months off or whatever it was,
or 3 or 4 since sometime in September.
We've had a lot of time off. It's It hasn't really been good for consistency on
the holidays. Will do that to people, right?
Yeah. I guess so.
The holidays, Thanksgiving, and on
Halloween. You start at Halloween, right? American Thanksgiving, you can go for days. Hanukkah, throw that in there too. We're good.
So Jay, who are we hanging out here tonight?
Well,
I don't even get to introduce myself.
No, he doesn't. Don't kid yourself. Shut up and just sit there for a second, right? Welcome to you.
Okay, I'll leave.
Well, I don't even know his whole. I guess we probably should bring it to him and let him discuss his resume to start off with. But I would say chef extraordinaire, Nic Gignac, the man, the legend. And I'm not sure how else to bullshit a introduction for him, but Nicholas Gignac.
Yeah. We used to shoot pucks at his head.
Yeah,
so that's
purposely.
Some people still do. I did bring my pads. It's like the first question most people ask me.
Hey,
not even what are you doing in Timmins. It's like you got your gear.
Still playing net.
Yeah, that's my life now.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So we're happy to have you on the podcast, Nick. I feel like this has been a long time coming.
Yeah, we've socialized about this a little bit as far as having a reunion of sorts and getting to enjoy a beer and obviously the aforementioned bullshitting.
Yeah, I think it was on volume 3. We were supposed to
make a drive. Yeah,
but obviously with this elaborate studio that we have here,
my bar was better. That's all.
I have to say yes. I have seen it, and yes, it was better.
My bar now is better.
It's still
for
better.
the record. I did inherit a bar.
Why didn't we do that? Why didn't we do this there?
Yeah. I don't know. You tell me.
Okay, pause, right?
Yeah, all right, let's go. All right, everybody.
Show's taking on. We're on
like the fucking old Batman thing there. So, Nick, what are you doing back in town?
I ask myself that every day.
No, tell us what you're doing these days.
No, I don't know if your avid listeners are aware of the fact that
listener.
One.
Oh, there's like 3 or 4.
It's your dad.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Hi, Dean. I had my own restaurant in North Bay, as you guys are aware, and we're frequent flyers whenever you're driving through, and actually ended up closing up shop and enjoying myself during the summer and taking some time off, and kind of dumb luck, just got a job offer to come up and work with Radical Gardens here in town. And the package they threw together was good enough to obviously move, but it's as close to business ownership as you can get.
Oh,
right.
Nice.
Like not the headaches of business ownership, or at least the lessened headaches, but like free reign with the menu or that kind of stuff. That I mean, you're not really going to get to walk in somewhere and just take over and run with it unless you're the one forking over the money to do it. Right.
Makes sense.
So kind of fell in backwards to this opportunity and have been here for a few months now, and it's been a lot of fun actually. It's kind of weird. First week here, I did a rabbit taco because I could, right? Like I don't know why the hell not, right?
So you feel like they've been trusting you a lot over there?
I'd like to think so. Right? I mean, I'm still there.
Have you had any like moments where you've made some kind of suggestion, like, all right, we're gonna go like this, and they look at you like,
yeah. Sometimes, well, they want to go and do like the most crazy and cool stuff all the time, and like I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Right? But then every once in a while, it's like having owned my own business and stuff. It's like kind of come back to earth, guys. Like,
oh, really?
Like, well, occasionally, just as far as like, I like where you're going, but like instead of
no worries.
Instead of rolling out like a completely different menu every day, it's like you try to piggyback items. You can alter them, but like you minimize your food waste and you know like that kind of crap. That's really boring stuff.
Okay, so
But-
it sounds like it's a good like partnership because the experience that you've had before.
Well, yeah, and I mean they have their own farm. They've got all kinds of stuff going on. So like as far as getting product, like I couldn't get what they get.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Like they've got all kinds of stuff coming in, like partnerships with local farms and whatever. Let alone build or growing it themselves. So it's kind of a unique opportunity in that sense to have free reign and also access to a bunch of like cool ingredients.
Nice.
Although dealing with like deliveries at -40 is a bit of a pain in the ass. Right? I don't think we've managed to receive a single shipment of romaine in like 3 weeks. It's like, oh, it's frozen. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I don't know when our listeners would be listening to this, if anybody's like kind of coming back to this when it's warmer weather outside, but it's fucking garbage outside right now. It's so goddamn cold.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I can't stand this shit.
It's almost like we haven't lived here our entire lives.
And every year, though, it
Unexpected.
happens every fucking year.
And everyone's surprised.
Everyone's surprised, but I always think, I'm like, man, why the hell do we live in the coldest possible place in the world? Like, why?
What gets me is like who decided to stop?
Yeah.
like you know,
Fucking
200
monkey.
years ago or whatever it was.
The boat
You're
was
like,
going literally like the water was going south. Like the like it pulls you south. Why did we go the opposite direction?
oh, the weather's really shitty. Let's stop.
Yeah, I don't think that any amount of gold is.
Well, that may have played a
would be
factor.
worth. Yeah. I don't know. They seem to have found something precious enough, but
Bullshit.
I don't know. It's fucking cold as garbage. And I mean, this isn't exactly a weather show, but
It has to be mentioned.
Yeah, it's got to be mentioned. That's for sure. Yeah, I guess that kind of falls into what we were talking about, saying that reasons to come back to Timmins. Obviously, not
Not
the
the
weather.
weather.
Not weather. No.
But it sounds like you were given a pretty interesting opportunity, and like you mentioned, was it the first week you were here? You did rabbit tacos.
No, yeah.
And like what other crazy shit have you been trying out since?
Well,
then?
I've just been blown away by the fact that they were actually well received. Right? Like there's always a point where you make an item or you make a menu and you kind of like roll it out and sit there and do like, I don't know, let's see what the hell happens, right? But it's been a lot of fun in that sense. I haven't gone as crazy as some of like the other items that I've rolled out in the past, even for myself, right? Because I'm walking into a market and I have no idea what the hell to expect.
So it's kind of testing it out.
Yeah. And there are sometimes you think that it's like, for Hanukkah, I did a Hanukkah burger, right?
So
What
pork?
goes into a Hanukkah
Yeah,
burger?
yeah. Copious amounts of pork,
Okay,
right?
good.
No, well, the missus who couldn't be here today, Jess, hi.
Hi, Jess.
Yeah.
We were looking forward to meet you.
Yeah.
Still don't think she's real, but anyways.
Yeah, kind of fake. That's true.
I have
Seen the
pictures,
Photoshop
right?
pictures.
Yeah.
That picture.
Yes.
She's back at home. You know, we meet each other at camp every summer.
It's true.
I can use Google Images too.
Safe search has to be on, though. So she actually is the baker at Radical as well,
Yeah.
right? So like we came up as a package deal. I
Match
guess.
made in heaven.
You know it, right? And she came up with the idea actually to make halal, like challah, for them folk. It's a egg-based bun, Jewish bun, right?
Okay.
Usually knotted, not naughty. And kind of ran with it for the premise of a burger for the 8 days of Hanukkah. And then, I don't know how familiar you are with the Jewy foods and whatnot, but there's
Jewy foods.
Hey,
Yeah, no,
we're pushing
it's all right.
boundaries, all right?
No,
So-
we can push the boundaries all we want, but that's good. Yeah.
so
Okay.
ladkas, you guys know ladkas, potato pancakes,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So
I do know that one.
I threw a
knew that.
ladka on this burger because I could. I omitted bacon, obviously, and made a barbecue sauce out of Manischewitz, like Jewish kosher wine. I guess it's not kosher for Passover, and you got to say that crap, but it's kosher wine nevertheless.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've had it or not, but it's like Welch's grape juice with alcohol. It's ridiculous.
So it's good.
It's $7 a bottle, right? so good.
It's great. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great. It's great wine.
It actually works incredibly well for barbecue sauce. For the record,
It's just because the sugar
content.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I kind of messed around with that kind of stuff, and I had no idea what the hell to expect, and it went over well.
And people liked it.
Yeah. And it's a conversation piece too, right?
Yeah.
People are like, "What? Like home for the holidays?" I don't get it. And you're like, "Wait, so
let me tell you the story." Nick, get out front here.
Yeah.
Come tell this guy about
At least
Hanukkah.
I'm already in the front, right?
Yeah.
Instead of one day of Christmas, we get 8 crazy nights. Just play the Adam Sandler song on repeat. Yeah.
No, that's super cool, and I think like that particular establishment as well. I remember when they first opened up, and some of the items that they were rolling out, and it was just like this kind of creativity that was coming out of their restaurant, and I didn't know what that was going to be, how that was going to be received in Timmins, because I think people in Timmins tend to have this like reputation of being I don't know, used to their chain restaurants, their East Side Mario's.
I don't think that's exclusively Timmins.
Is it north, you think?
Yeah, because if availability of product is a big deal, and certainly comfort food is another thing, right? Like you're trying to cater to the masses. You're still a business trying to make money. So at the end of the day, if you want to go crazy and bring in truffles and whatnot, and foie gras, whatever, like it's big ticket items that may not sell, and then you've got money tied up in inventory, and you're just hemorrhaging, and it can be a little overwhelming. So like for them to be rolling out some authentic like ethnic cuisines, even, right, like rolling out butter chicken, I was kind of blown away by the restaurant scene here in town, how much it has changed, right? The sushi restaurants, and there is a curry place in town now, right? Like so. That's super cool. It's kind of progressive, right? You see that transition, or at least the exposure's there now to different foods, and people are a little more willing to try stuff.
And the places are still around. Like it's not the the places haven't kind of opened up and then been this kind of like idealism
flash fly by night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you have a couple of them downtown now. Like I saw them are cafes, and like they've been going strong for a few years now. I think I've always been like just astounded and just dumbfounded by how like the Italian like population in this town is huge. There's not one goddamn Italian restaurant next to the nightclub.
East Side Mario's.
But that's not a franchise joint. Like how would that make sense? Like I don't understand it. But like there's not a single like you say ethnic food, like no cultured food. There's nothing. It's but now there are a few little small places that are starting up, and they've been multiple years. They're doing it. I love it.
I wonder if there's like any apprehension with regards to like rolling out an Italian restaurant, for example. Like you're talking about, there's a demographic there that's fairly significant, so there would be an opportunity. But everyone's kind of got that, like my grandma did it like this or whatever, right? So like if you're trying to come in and like you're some hotshot and you're like, look at what I do, and at the end of the day, they're like, well, screw you, right? I can make it better or whatever.
You know what? You're right, because like the wife, she's like, I don't have Italian food here. Like, I don't have someone else's sauce. It's ridiculous. Right? That's a good point.
It's very family centric, right?
Yeah, like exactly. That's not what my mom made. It's like, who gives a shit?
Someone else made it.
Someone else.
It tastes good.
Honestly, that is like my favorite thing. That it's like you go out for dinner, or I go out for dinner, and it's very hard to turn off.
I can imagine
the fact that it's like, why am I spending $23 on pasta?
It's like me with porn. It's hard.
It's hard to watch somebody
phrasing. Yeah, what part is hard?
It's hard.
But if you're walking in and like, I'm sorry, I have a mental image now. Oh,
sorry. For the record,
the hockey days, right? Yeah.
This is the first podcast we do where we've all seen each other in the shower.
Yes,
pretty sure.
Me, you, and McCaver.
But we had other people there as well.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So, anyways, got that out of the way. Anyway, as you were saying, you
Precursor.
go out for dinner, you find it hard to
No, wait.
spend
It's
20
difficult.
It's difficult.
Difficult.
Yes,
There you go.
It's difficult to spend money on something that, like, you can make better at home, first of all. But the knowledge of the fact that, like, the product may only cost like $4 to make, and then you factor in your labor costs or whatever, and you're like, I'm still paying too much for this, right? And it's hard to get past that. But
You're privy to that information,
well,
right? Like, you know,
right. It's like you do it for a living, and it's like I don't know. You go out for dinner as a social event, and you're like, I'm still kind of working, right? Because you're constantly like, whether it be you see a menu item and you're like, well, that's cool or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, if I get invited to a dinner party or something, and people are like, oh, I'm super intimidated to cook for you, like, I don't care what you cook. I didn't have to cook,
to make it.
right? It's like Canadian hot dogs. Yes. You know, like, sign me up. I'm there.
You make the best Canadian hot dogs. That's what I like. That's one of the few things my kids will eat. Canadian hot dogs.
They're super healthy.
They're very, very, very healthy children. Full of
But
GMOs. I'm banking on the genetically modified part to just go
Kick
the
them in.
good direction.
Yeah.
You know, like, genetically modified is not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
Like, weren't the Ninja Turtles genetically modified?
They're better than they were as regular turtles.
Exactly. There you go.
Well,
We're ninja children.
I don't know if, like, your food being, like, doused in ooze would be appetizing, I guess.
Let's
But
just say
How
roll
do you
the
know?
dice. Roll
How
the
do you
dice.
your jury's still out. You're right.
Have you tried it?
Don't knock it till you try it.
That's what I try to tell my kids. It doesn't work. No, that's cool. And obviously, like, you've got quite a bit of history behind you coming here to Timmins, just as your experience as a chef. You want to tell us a little bit about that? Because, like, you know, we're I'm going to say we're vaguely familiar with it. I couldn't tell your story for you, but I think it'd be cool for anybody who's listening to the podcast to kind of get an idea of what you've done before this.
And who the hell I am.
Yeah, that too. Nicholas Gignac.
Fine.
Tell us
The
about
man,
it.
the
Tell
myth,
us-
the legend, right?
Tell us a story. Paint a word picture.
So you want to know how I ended up in kitchens?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. Out of the net and into the kitchen.
You got D's in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, actually,
I'm pretty sure we took.
I was
a-
pretty good in high
I'm
school.
pretty
for the
sure.
record.
Did we take a?
Don't reach out to me.
Did we take a summer school math class together
Yes,
one time?
did.
Could we fail?
Yes,
All right.
yes,
Okay.
Yeah, for the record, that's the only class I've ever failed.
You guys are horrible students.
It's true. It's true. Should have went to French school. Right?
Yes.
That's it. Well, I graduated from Michener, RM represent, right? Yeah, cobwebs. Yeah, and well, my dad was working at Kid Creek here, and he actually got transferred and shipped out to the Dominican Republic of all places. And everyone kind of associates that with resorts and beaches and all that jazz, but it's the mine isn't on the beach or on a resort. It's like the armed guards secure complex in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. And so my folks took off and they were living in the Dominican, and I was essentially like, okay, bye, go to school. Like, okay. And I'm a bit of a dork and like history, and went to Ottawa U and studied history. And fun fact, I hate university, like with a burning passion. Like yeah. What do you
So
guys
you're
say?
wasting your life, Jay.
I'm more of
What
a
I say.
hands-on person, right? But take that however you want.
No,
I'm a huge
I
hands-on
think-
person too.
yeah.
I told you about my whole fascination with certain videos. Very hands-on.
Very hands-on guy.
But yeah, so I was studying history for about 2 years and wasn't enjoying it, and my folks didn't like it very much. But I decided to take a year off and kind of figure out what the hell I wanted to do with my life. And I no longer have any bursaries or scholarship stuff happening. So now what? Get a job. So I'm a lowly dishwasher at Tucker's Marketplace in Ottawa. I don't know if anybody who travels to Ottawa, most people are aware of what Tucker's is.
Okay.
But it's like a buffet style, like big ass restaurant and they cater to everybody. They've got their little omelet stations and whatnot, but I'm like lowly dishwasher, right? And I actually thoroughly enjoyed work. It was like the first time in my life waking up and like, I am a worker,
good time.
whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like granted, like young guy, surrounded by waitresses, working, whatever hours I wanted.
Yeah.
And, you get overtime? Here, have a beer. This is I'm living the dream,
life.
right?
Yeah.
So, I'm enjoying myself. And while this is happening, my folks get transferred from the Dominican Republic to Australia. And I was
The
fortunate.
beaches weren't nice enough. They're like, where can we go?
Yeah. Like, let's move you somewhere where like bugs kill you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to be able to go and visit some of these places that they ended up living at, like Dominican Republic and Australia. And my dad was always the one who would work that into his contract. That is like, my brother and I and my grandma get to like come down and visit or whatever. So, it was great for me.
No
Thanks,
kidding.
Dad.
Get some nice trips.
Yeah, and it was like I didn't really get to see them very often. Maybe Thanksgiving and the aforementioned Jewish part, like not really. Christmas isn't a huge deal, but went down to Australia to visit them over the Christmas holidays one year, and after a couple bottles of wine, a case of beer, some port, sitting in the pool in the backyard, and my dad did the like, you seem like genuinely happy, and would you consider doing this for a living? And it's like light switch, like no, I would never, right? Never really thought of it until you have that discussion, and. Like I've always liked cooking, and my folks are very comfortable in the kitchen, and grew up eating some good food. And here's this somebody who's basically pushing you to pursue that as a career, and the thought never really crossed my mind. So I ended up going to school at Canadore in North Bay and taking their culinary program, which is a really good program. And it's funny now, like I got back to North Bay a few years ago, right? And went and saw the faculty and kind of had a social hour, and like gently nudged to be like, I want to like get this cushy job of teaching, right? Like when you guys retire, let me in here. This is
Let me
great.
know I want to do this.
Yeah. But they've progressed so much. Like they've got all the new gadgets and all the cool stuff that's rolling out with regards to cooking and whatnot, and the science behind it. And there's some really crazy stuff going on right now. So it's an exciting time to be in this industry. But I graduated from that program, and I spent a little bit of time at Deerhurst and Huntsville right before they hosted the G8 Summit. So it was like a ritzy place to be. And instead of continuing down that path, I'm like, bye, going somewhere else. And wound up in Niagara, worked at Hillebrand Winery, which is now Trius. I guess they don't carry the flag of Hillebrand anymore. It's Trius, a sister site of Peller Estate. Like some pretty big like Ontario vineyards.
Okay.
And was kind of doing my thing there, and economic crisis rolls out, and you're probably doing the like, which one?
Yeah.
And so everyone got laid off with the exception of the chef and the two sous chefs. So I'm out of work, and I end up in Saskatchewan of all places. Yeah. I kind of go wherever the hell the work is, right?
Yeah,
And
of course.
It's a trade, so I can do that. But I ended up like, I don't want to say regressing, but it at the time it kind of felt like I was, because I went from like a kind of hoity-toity, fancy, like fine dining restaurant in a vineyard to a multi-million-dollar franchise, being the Earl's franchise in Saskatchewan. I don't know if you're familiar with the Earl's franchise or not, but they've recently got some new restaurants in Toronto and stuff. Like there's one on King Street that's just outrageous.
There's one right by the Royal York. Just, can't remember what street
Yes.
that is,
Okay. Yeah.
In the Sun Life building.
Is it Front Street, or is it?
No, it's further up.
It's further up.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in the Sun Life building.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
They have Rhino beer on tap. And,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. No, so you're
Oh,
freaking
he's been.
flyer.
He's been.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've been.
It's the skirts. Yeah.
What? That's disgusting. I can't believe you say that. Yes, totally.
So I ended up there and was working prep shifts and kind of just mucking around, and then you more or less immediately got promoted into management. And I now look back on it with fondness and can think that like that was my first exposure into management or middle management, and having to deal with the number crunching aspect of the restaurant industry, because to be brutally honest, the cooking is really easy, right? It's all the other crap that's just like, how much did this pint cost? Right?
Exactly.
Whatever. And
what's your margin on it? And the whole small business aspect of it, right?
Oh, totally. Small business in its own right, like the margins are razor thin, and then with restaurants, it's insane. And then you want to factor in a minimum wage increase. I'm not going there.
Oh, we can talk about that a little bit later. Let's have some political pain points.
More of this, right? as he sculls his beer. Okay, moving on from that one. Went from Earl's and actually opened my own place in Regina. A friend of mine wanted to do a kind of fancy home furniture store, Pearl Hardware. It's still there in Regina, actually. It was a really nice store. And he wanted to put a coffee shop in it that had like a soup sandwich kind of daily special thing, which is eerie similar to what I'm doing at Radical now. So I'm kind of familiar with it.
Coming full circle.
A little bit. And so I was there, Saskatchewan for about 6 years, and kind of homesick. Gets to a point that my family's around here, and up north is home. Mm-hmm. And kind of hemming and hawing about buying a house, and my dad, being the cheeky bugger that he is, I'm having trouble finding listings that are like worth your time. He sends me a listing, the old email, here, check this out, right? Like if you wanted a house in Regina, this is like peak agriculture and peak potash time, right? So it was insane.
It was crazy.
Like I'm looking at like 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, wartime little hole in the wall, and it's $300K before you even bat an eye. I'm like, this is garbage, right? Like I'll never get any money from this, right? No, I've seen the money pit. I'm not interested in this, right? So he sends me a listing, and it's for Valenti's restaurant in North Bay, which no longer exists, but it was like a restaurant listing. There's a business in it, and another lessee upstairs. So it would also be like an income property, and it was the equivalent price of like this little shithole. And it was kind of like,
so it just goes,
I plant the seed as far as like, okay, and then writing's on the wall. I'm already checked out and wanted to move back.
You're starting to think, right?
Right, And he's cheeky. Right? He's like, all right, that little mind ninja.
Learn you back.
I ended up moving back to North Bay, opened my own business, being the miner's son. And in case the listeners weren't aware, as my dad worked at Kidd, I am the son of a miner. Weird.
Oh, never got that. Never quite got that. Huh.
That's why.
It's interesting, right from the horse's mouth. You get that.
As opposed to like under 18 and sunlight.
The miner's son.
You're like, you'd be amazed how many.
That
times
went right over my head. Yeah.
Stupid.
So you operated Miner's Son for
just shy of 3 years.
Yeah, and that was a hell of an experience.
Oh yeah. It was. There was never a dull moment. Lots of little issues as far as like Let
me stop you there for 1 second. So this is your first experience of the kind now, where you are the guy.
Right. I did it kind of in partnership with someone in Saskatchewan, and this time around it was basically just me.
Yeah.
Trying to run the show as best you can, and like I have very good memories, and like did a lot of good things, and also a lot of things that didn't work, and can look back with hindsight and kind of be like, oops. Right. The unfortunate aspect is like they're expensive mistakes at that point, and you're not gambling with somebody else's money. I ran into difficulties from the onset, like trying to negotiate leases, and it takes like 4 months to do, because the lease I was handed had stuff like you can't cook on site. And I'm like, well, I'm not signing this, right? Like, and
How are you supposed to have?
well, and apparently somebody signed it and is operating a restaurant under that clause. And I'm like, well, that's their problem, right?
Yeah,
Like, I'm not going
yeah.
to do that anyway. Like that kind of stuff, right? And contractors who did piss poor jobs and also would leave, go on hiatus, and it's like, where the hell were you? Oh, I went moose hunting. I'm like, thanks for the heads up. You know, you didn't even bring me any meat, you dick. So it was very stressful. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a bit of entrepreneurship gut now.
That's what I got.
Yeah.
Sure.
And this is called medicine.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was told to never trust the skinny chef anyways. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm trained in French cooking, right? So it's like butter, salt, booze,
There you
cream.
go. There you go. Yeah. All the good stuff
Yeah.
before food groups.
And
Isn't all like good cooking, no French cooking?
Well, tell a French person that, right? Yeah. They're like, well, we created cooking, so duh.
Of course. Yeah. So you say you had gone through a lot of challenges, and this is kind of a recurring theme. I know we haven't done a podcast in fucking 3 months, but one of the recurring themes in our podcast is we've had people who have started businesses and or have participated in starting businesses or whatever, had experience in that regard. And some of the challenges that they've gone through, and it always seems to be that. Like, no one's come in here and said, like, it was a fucking breeze.
That was easy. You know what, man?
Easiest thing ever.
I am just printing money.
If it was
so
easy,
nice.
everyone would do
Yeah.
it, right? Like, let's be honest.
You know what's hard? Trigonometry. What's not hard? Starting a business. No, we've had nobody say that, and it kind of, like, what it makes me wonder is it just an inherent challenge because of the risk, or are there additional challenges? I get the challenge of the uncertainty.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense to me. But are there additional barriers that are there that either don't need to be there or are just a pain in the ass to get around?
Well, speaking from the restaurant standpoint, red tape.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you want to do anything, you have to pay, right? So whether it's a liquor license or you want to have a business license, and it's just a death by 1,000 cuts, WSIB payments.
But are those, like, once again, like you were saying, like, do those have to be there, or things that don't have to be there? Like, a WSIB payment, unfortunately, that's something that has to be there.
Totally.
Even licensing type stuff, things that have to be there because you don't want douchebag who shouldn't be running a restaurant doing that.
What gets me with it, okay, we're gonna get into the minimum
Please,
wage
let's do it.
increase
Let's do it.
immediately, right?
Okay, let's do it.
I for one, and I can probably speak for most small business owners, at least the ones that I know, no one's paying minimum wage because you have to be able to attract good workers, right? So everyone's paying above minimum wage, and you're not going to want to pay an exorbitant amount, being like the 20 some odd % increase that everyone's being force fed as of today or yesterday or whatever, for someone pushing a broom. Because then as soon as you have anybody who has any credentials, like, what are you paying them, right? And it's there's so many other factors that it's like it's not about paying the person a living wage, because yes, everyone deserves to be able to live comfortably, but by the same token, like, by implementing this, all prices are going to be driven up. And I don't give a shit what anybody says, that they're like, oh no, it won't. I'm like, shut up, it's already happening, so I don't care.
It'll happen at different places at different times.
Right. Right.
I think that's what it is.
Like, if you're going to force this upon businesses, like, what people fail to realize is that it's not $15 for the business, because you're paying that $15, but then you're also paying, the government's pound of flesh, and that's going to increase with the wage increase.
Yeah.
So if you want to implement something like this, I'm all for it, but give an incentive to the business, like, provide a tax break or whatever the hell the case may be, because as it stands, like, you're whether it's probably not property tax, because this is at the
senior level government,
provincial level, right? But on that subject, like, I watched my property tax in North Bay go from your 4 digits to 5, and then the number and the front just change every year. Like, how the hell can I go from, like, I'm pushing like $9,000 and then it's like almost like 30, like what the hell? Like that's a bill that's going to kill a business.
Yeah.
So
no,
there's a lot of little factors.
So my question, so we're on the minimum wage now. My question about my not question, I guess my view on it is, I understand it's costly. Trust me, I understand the mathematics and the accounting behind it. That was somewhat my forte. But so yes, you're saying cost does get transferred on to the consumer. You're absolutely right. Would you think, and this is something like I have this feeling that's a consumer or consumable goods like restaurants and other type of consumable goods, those I think do have some, to a degree, have some type of shielding from this. Mainly because, unfortunately, that industry is not going to go away. Okay, so people if you bring prices up a bit in order to sustain that increase across the board, those businesses aren't going to lose out on this because guess what? I'm fucking lazy still. I'm still picking up a sandwich for lunchtime. I'm not getting this. And the majority of people who are going there are going to do it. Some people might say, you know what, this is starting to get pricey. I might shift to whatever, but who the fuck's going to start going to groceries and start picking up veggies to start making themselves their own food? Well, I still think that, unfortunately, I don't think the sales go away.
Those veggies are going to cost more as well.
Yes. Right? Everything goes up. So everything goes up, but if everything goes up, everything stays the same. It's going up across the board. This will happen across the board.
And I think that's and I said this on a previous podcast when they first announced the whole minimum wage thing. I said I understand the intent and I understand the idea of wanting people to be able to live, like anybody who's working full time should be able to live, right?
Yeah.
Now that is a noble idea to me, but there's a reason why every couple of years we're always talking about a minimum wage increase, and it's like that to me is simple economics. Like as soon as you increase the minimum wage, you are suddenly introducing people who couldn't afford certain things before are now able to afford certain things. So you're right away increasing demand on product, right? So just like very basically, there's going to be more demand for whatever products. Now, what drives increase in prices? Demand, right? So as demand increases, prices will increase. Might not happen right away, but I predict 5, 10, 15 years from now, we're going to be talking about, we're going to have the same fucking discussion. So, like, what's a reasonable amount? Let's just fucking raise it to there if that's the case. But to me, it will never work. No, it will never permanently solve the problem. It's a politically expedient solution.
It's not that it will never work. It's that it will not correct.
It's an election year. Oh, okay. Like, don't kid yourselves.
Oh no, absolutely. It's why nothing really gets done unless an election year. Well, stuff gets done, but not stuff that is, quote unquote, in a veil of benefiting the taxpayer. That's only happens election year, the year before, or like running up to it. But I do think a lot of these laws, though, like. Let's be honest. It's not keeping up with inflation. Mm-hmm. That's the main issue. Is the wage increase or minimum wage increase does not keep up with inflation. That is the number one issue, because people are getting paid at wages that were getting paid 10 years before,
right?
And stuff keeps going up. So that's like that right there. I think everyone can argue if as long as it kept up with inflation, if it got put at a dollar amount, I don't know where that dollar amount is, where's that line, and then kept with inflation. I don't think anyone can argue that's not a bad thing. That's an okay thing.
So my question with this is just like, what possible incentive do people have to create business and create job opportunities or contribute to their respective communities and whatnot, right? Like you're penalizing people chasing a dream.
You're not. Why are you penalizing? The thing is, you can you have the entrepreneurial spirit and go do whatever. The idea is that you go out there and make as much money as you can and do whatever. That's the idea of a minimum wage. And once again, I'm not saying $15 is the appropriate way. And I'm not saying the way they're doing is appropriate. I'm not even saying if it's a yes or no. But the idea that, if they increase minimum wage to let's argue this is the fair amount. Mm-hmm. Is there anything wrong with that?
like
There's nothing
No,
wrong. No.
no.
All right. So then there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm right. Okay. I already won the argument.
It's hardly an argument,
I do
right?
this all the time.
I'm not arguing
I know.
that.
So, but so why should there then be like I want to know why should like going back to your question, why should there be an additional incentive for an entrepreneur to go out there and make money? They should offer a product at a profitable rate that helps sustain them and grows their wealth.
When it's being policed by the government, there's an issue.
Well, everything's going to be policed by the government. Unfortunately, we're in an anarchist situation.
But I feel like there's kind of a middle ground in all of this, right?
That.
Like the
No.
idea, the idea that what you're saying is that if they raise the minimum wage to this level, why can't somebody just say take that information and go like, all right, I'm going to take this. This is my labor cost, right? And now I'm going to develop my business plan around this, and I'm going to have like my fucking profit margins are going to be built around this. And you're absolutely right about that. But the problem is there are a bunch of people who have already done that with $11.25 an hour.
Yeah,
but did it with $10.25 an hour.
Their business plan
fucking
does
5 years
not
ago.
only work with what's your cost per sale. It's also what's your selling price per sale. Any business plan, any
So you
proper
mean
business
raise
plan,
prices?
will have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
grow accordingly. You never go sales only or cost of goods only. You also go sale and price.
Right.
You have to have both. And if you can't understand how they each affect each other and how much one has to go up to affect the other one, you don't. Unfortunately, you don't belong running a business. You shouldn't be doing it.
So what you're saying...
That's not what you do.
So 100% what you're saying, all right, and like this is where I feel like the argument falls apart, is that the people who couldn't afford to do something before... right?
And I'm not arguing with that. I can't argue with that.
Yeah, like the people who couldn't afford to do something before are going to be given a raise, though that raise is going to increase the price of whatever product they were serving, which will in turn... fuck over some other people who also got the raise who have to buy that product.
So the only other argument I've ever had about this whole thing, and I've heard it, and I think I've said it before, is that, and this might not fall for every industry, but the reason I find a lot of this is like we have to increase the minimum wage because currently what's happening right now, it has the industry is not governing itself. Okay, so like business is not increasing minimum wage on their own. This is the minimum wage. Let's fucking pay this, and it's the larger companies that can do that. Like that have a shitload of labor and they get paid. They pay. We're paying them all $12.50.
It's the Walmarts,
the Walmarts, all that stuff. The larger companies,
and they're putting in automation and shit.
We should
right?
we shouldn't be saying names because we want someone to sponsor us eventually and give us some money. So not Walmart.
Pure bullshit brought to you by Walmart.
So it's these guys are paying people at minimum wage, but they're not self-governing themselves and increasing this minimum wage to keep up with inflation because they're treating minimum wage as what you should be paying people. Minimum wage is not what you should be paying people. It's the legally minimum you can pay someone.
They're also in a business to make money.
Yeah, like every
right?
business.
And that, like whenever you have a discussion with people and they're like, oh well, the owner should take less money. Most of the owners I know with small businesses don't take a friggin' paycheck, right? Mm. So like, piss off. That's the part that kind of like frustrates the living hell out of me. That like it's not so much the living wage aspect; it's just like the inherent kind of disregard for the actual business owner. Yeah, as far as the hardships,
there's a lot of hatred for.
Well, it's an assumption that a business owner is a billionaire and doing whatever. Yeah. But it's like really like when you look at micro businesses, because a small business is like 25 employees and more. Like a micro business is under that. So like most businesses are micro businesses. You're not working with a whole lot. Yeah, you might have some guys who are consultants who are making a few $100,000, and because that's the type. It's a service industry. That's
they've incorporated and they're just single like.
And
what's his overhead, right?
Like, but then you can argue other stuff where people are. It's like, they hide stuff. It's like, well, not hide stuff, but there are some financial. I guess we're buying the TV for the business, but it's not really the TV. Like,
it's in our
there's arguments that some of the shit doesn't really make sense. But yeah, people assume that the business owner is the evil, Scrooge McDuck.
That's what I've always pictured any business owner as. I'm very happy that Nick can come here and shatter that stereotype.
That's the business owner's dream. He wants to be diving in the gold coins and all that. Exactly. That is the end game.
I'm not sure how much we can talk about this. Kind of just there's a little ethnic aspect to this. I'm not sure if we can make jokes about this.
About Scrooge McDuck because he's Irish? What you're referring to, Nick, is I feel like it's this. This is kind of recent because I feel like people have just recently started not admiring people who do well, but
envying.
No, not even envying. There's something about envying that you say I want to be there, right? Like I want to someday be that guy. But this kind of like disdain for people who've done well, you know, and it's like and then assuming that anybody who owns anything or has any stake in anything is automatically doing well.
Yeah.
Or doesn't deserve what they got. Like, think about any time you see,
you're just given whatever,
you'll see,
right?
you'll see a good-looking girl driving, a brand new, beautiful like Mercedes Benz. You're like,
who bought her that?
Daddy must have bought something for her, huh? It's like, well, what the fuck? She must be.
She's a lawyer,
very successful lawyer, or whatever,
yeah.
or whatever, or saved her money and bought what she wanted.
Yeah.
It's like what we always assume. We project always the negative aspect to it. Oh, this guy either douchebag was stealing, or it was given to them, trust fund jag. All this stuff.
Well, we were talking about it earlier too, with like social media being what it is. That like everyone has their opinion, and they feel the need to share it with everyone, right? Whether no matter how educated or not it is, keyboard warrior, whatever, right? Like,
and you know what's awesome and about doing the fact that we've done this podcast, we've had people with like such not crazy. I want to omit that word.
Avoid that word.
They've had very far-leaning progressive points of view, and people who lean more to a conservative point of view. Great thing we've had no alt-righters, though, right? That's kind of a good
You're
thing. I'm hosting the show. But we've had people who've kind of been all over the spectrum. Like, if a guy like Charlie Angus sat here and heard us talking about how or defend or opposing a minimum wage increase, he'd be like, "Well, what do you have against working people making good money?" And to be honest, none of us really have anything against that, right? And I'm sure a lot of small business owners, they demonstrate that they have nothing against it by paying a living wage to their workers. The problem is that it's an unintended effect when you're going after the employers,
Walmarts, the
exactly
big ones.
The employers
Who
that are
abuse the
kind of
system.
abusing that current structure. Then you have unintended effects that kind of, because the law has to apply to everybody equally, right? And that ends up screwing over people who have those super razor thin margins, and arguably, and I mean, this is talked about like it's a conservative talking point, and I don't really think it is, but this idea that it hurts the people it purports to help, right?
Yeah,
I think like a lot of the products that people are that the people who can't currently afford need to buy, those prices are going to go up, and
you're going to repeat the cycle in a few years. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I get, my issue with it is just more so that the business doesn't get any like kickback, or
they don't have an offsetting thing to stop. And that can be something like the government, when they do something like this, they should do, like, you know what, for the first 2 years, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I am going to cut you off. And I
don't mean to.
Get ready, because I'm going to do it all the fucking time.
I can't wait to just be like, shush, and then be like, adults are speaking.
Adults.
I can cut his mic anytime. Anytime, just let me know.
Which button? So I can.
Perfect. It's gone.
But I can't remember what I was talking
How
about.
rude is that, right?
When the government does it, they should do. It's like, hey, for the first 2 years, as we phase this in, there will be a tax reduction.
I think the key word in that is phased in.
Yeah, phased in.
Because if you turn around and implement an increase of this magnitude,
it's huge.
It's outrageous, and you're not providing the business enough time to kind of make the corrections and adjustments.
Get their footing, set themselves.
You're running blind, and again, any business that has razor thin margins, like if they're implementing something like this, and heaven forbid something happens, like the water main breaks or whatever the hell the case may be, and now they're in a pickle and have to pay for this as well.
They could payroll.
Exactly. There's more at stake, like, and it's naive to say otherwise. I don't know. Like it's it's very interesting to me now, having kind of been involved in it and like involved firsthand, obviously, and having to deal with like, you know, it's death by 1,000 cuts and you're running around like a dummy all the time. And it could be the smallest thing, like your furnace goes out.
Yeah.
Right? Like in this weather right now, and you have a furnace go out, and then, okay, so the furnace is out. You have to get somebody in to fix that. And if it's during the holidays, what are you paying them? They're getting
Exactly.
OT or whatever, and it's just... Like,
And there's no, and I don't think there's anybody across the political spectrum that would argue that, well, you know what, this is just going to cause, there's going to be less people starting up businesses, and because people need to be financially stable, like very financially stable before they
does
do
this
so.
stop the entrepreneurial spirit?
No, it's not the entrepreneurial spirit. It's not the entrepreneurial spirit. Fuck, I can't say that shit when I'm when I'm drinking.
You've had a beer?
There's a lot of R's and E's, and it's really hard words to spell too. Like,
it's like it's got its own little slur in the word. Like
you have to mumble it.
business person spirit.
business person spirit. Yes. It doesn't kill the spirit, but it makes somebody who may have that spirit have to think, okay, I need to have all this taken care of, and I need to make sure that my financial footing is way more like that threshold to being able to start a business. Like, I don't care how great your spirit is. If you've got no fucking money or access to money, you're not going very far.
Do you know what the like restaurant sayings, right? It's like, how's a quick way to end up with $1 million in the restaurant industry? Start with 10. and that is, you know, like it's
that's good.
It just bleeds you, right? And I can't stress enough that the margins are awful.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as anything happens, like if power goes out or whatever, you lose all your product, okay, and then you're waiting for your insurance to come in. Like,
yeah,
you know,
and is that what we want? Is that do we want a province where we have no restaurants? Like, because essentially, like what it leaves room for is like you'll have the McDonald's and you'll have the Wendy's and you'll have like it just won't
in-home
have this
in-home chefs, right?
there you go.
Yeah. So
That works.
you hungry?
I am very hungry. You know what? We should have done this Nic cooking for us
Oh yeah.
at our house. I'm actually fucking starving.
Yeah, you
I like leftover meat pie for supper. So.
Homemade meat pie, or you picked it up at like wherever?
Speaking of our friend Mr. Mark Durpo, I had a very good Dabrowski's meat pie.
There you go.
Can I top you off, Mr. Nicholas?
I won't say no.
You won't say no?
No.
Since we're doing that, we might as well discuss
Talk about what we're
beer
drinking.
we're having today.
Oh, Jason.
So today we're having one of the beers of our friends over at Full Beer Brewing. One of the many times we've had them, which it's very convenient to have a brewery in town. So it's very nice. So today we're having the Miner's Shaft Black IPA.
Thank you, sir.
Miner's Shaft is big, strong, and powerful beer. It's known to bring ground shaking.
Also thick.
Wide. It's very wide. It's known to bring ground shaking pleasure to those blessed enough to experience it. It's pretty decent. It's a 6%, 70 IBUs. It's a black IPA. What do you think about it, Corey? If you gave it a score out of 10, what would your rating be?
I'm going to give this a 8.89.
Didn't stick the landing.
It's my most specific rating yet.
Mr. Gignac, what would you give this out of a 10?
I love this beer.
Okay.
I as soon as they rolled out a black IPA, I was really, really giddy. So I'll be the guy. I'll give him a 10 for it. And I hope that he
Very
continues to do some kick-ass beers.
Yeah, it's good.
I do
It's
like
really
this.
good.
I'm a stout guy. I love stouts.
It's not
and
a
I'm,
stout.
I know. I'm not a huge. I'm not a huge IPA guy.
Wait, should I cut you off then?
I'm not a huge IPA guy. So this I find it's a nice mix between the two. I really like it. It has a bit of the chewy thickness of a stout, but with a bit more of the easier drink of the IPA. So I would give it a 7.89.
I'm sorry, but did you just say dewy thickness? Have some sensitivity, my friend.
I heard it. Yeah.
Give me a break.
As a chef, I question your palate.
Beg your pardon?
You heard me.
No, and you know what?
It's because Jay smokes like a chimney. That's why.
No, it's I actually really like this. If honestly, if I would have rated this earlier in our journey of podcasting, this would have been easy at 10. But I've been trying to kind of scale back I'm not scale back, but I'm trying to give like stuff like, all right, this is a solid like 8.
Yeah.
You know, like the 10 is still the one I haven't had yet.
Yeah.
This beer is the best beer that they make.
Yeah, you know what?
This is
to be close.
100% the best.
This is
beer
the first time I have it, and
I enjoyed that morning.
did I
The morning
rate-
tiger they just had, or they have right now. I have
new
enjoyed
Frosted
that.
Flakes.
But that's a Kinder beer. Like
Yeah.
that's an easy drinking. Like it's wonderful that they're like even 5 o'clock is like it's a crowd pleaser,
Yeah.
right? And
But a crowd pleaser can be a good beer. It can be a 10 or can be a 9.
you are notorious for the interruptions.
That's my job.
Yeah, here I am trying to say that it's very important for someone to have an introductory beer so that they can build up to something like this, right?
Yeah,
and
you're right.
then, And then, to have a beer like that, or even like on the banks of the Matagami, their brown ale is quite nice too.
Yep.
And I don't know if you're aware of this, but I'm pretty pompous when it
This
comes to
fucking
beer.
asshole.
All right.
I guess so. Jesus.
I did bring you a beer that you can't even get in this province.
I
See,
know,
that
I
might be
see
the 10
that.
I want.
That may be the 10.
So, and it's not. And I do.
Can we drink that one after? It's
Why
probably
do you ask-
cold enough now.
don't ask for
no,
permission.
No, because honestly,
Yeah,
I
let's
feel
finish
like,
this and go
I
to
feel like
that.
I'm going to pour this the wrong way.
We'll have to rinse our glasses and then do it.
All right, so do we have a certain kind of cloth that we could run it through before?
Go strain it through.
No, you have to
Some
take the
fancy
sword
shit,
out
man.
and like hack the top off. Yeah,
But like you're saying, like this is something they build up to, and you're right. And it's
I know.
but I often tell
I got 2 Jason Boissenos here tonight. Like,
when I argue with Corey, I often say like we can't rate don't rate this. Let's say for having a sour today, you can't rate this compared to a lager because
I
they're
also
completely
love
different.
sours.
Oh, sours are my
For the
favorite
record.
by far. Oh, I love sours, which I'm waiting for a good sour. I want them to give me a good sour. That's what. Come on, full beard.
beard, yeah, they have not made a sour.
But they're tough.
Stack has a sour
They
that's
do?
pretty good.
Okay, I haven't had it.
Expansion actually for their anniversary they
Okay.
rolled out. I love their beers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Seems like you're gonna say about anything now.
no. Okay, well I was talking about the trip to Maine earlier,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So, I highly recommend. Honestly, it was
Okay.
an impromptu. Jess, again, if you're not sleeping, well done. Like it was.
Well, to be fair, she'd be watching this later, but she's not. We're not doing live.
she doesn't exist.
We're not doing live.
Right?
That too.
Yeah,
And she doesn't exist.
whatever. But yeah, so she drafted up this this kind of road trip. So we hopped in the car at midnight and drove from North Bay to Boston, and then from Boston up through Portland, excuse me, and then up into like bumfuck Maine, and there's this Maine Brewers Guild. So they have a little pamphlet kind of thing with each kind of like the state is divvied, and they provide like the I guess inventory of all of the breweries that are there. And we planned our trip basically hopping around and doing a brewery tour, or many brewery tours. We hit 20 breweries in 2 days.
Holy fuck.
So these guys, Lone Pine, they're one of the breweries that we hit up in Portland, and it was they had a beer which I actually brought a can back, or actually 4 cans. I only kept one and gave it to Johnny and Benji at Full Beard, and it was a kind of tangerine IPA,
Okay.
and it was called OJ.
Nice.
And
Nice.
they dropped
The juice.
The juice is loose is what they wanted to say underneath it when OJ got let go. And all, like it was hilarious. But so that beer was a great beer, and the actual, like, I think the consensus favorite was a beer called Barn Burner, and it was an IPA that was habanero infused,
What?
and
Okay.
it was crazy. Like you have an IPA and they're like thirst quenching in the sense that, like, you're like, a hot day, have a drink of that, right? But then you have the spice aspect in it, but it was so well rounded that
It wasn't overwhelming.
no, it's not like pain, right? It's like
Okay.
that tingly spice, and then it makes you want to go back for that like thirst quenching aspect. And it was just like you could just get bombed,
Yeah,
right?
you get right
Like,
shit
this is
Especially with IPAs.
yeah, they're just,
yeah.
"Woo, here we go. Yeah, like I would highly recommend that trip. It was ridiculous. A lot of driving,
And
granted, but like
Okay, so where's this idea, this Maine Brewers Guild?
So
like,
I don't know who the hell drafted this thing, but I'm kind of blown away that Ontario doesn't have something that is similar to it. And like, you know, they kind of promote like kind of run the gauntlet through Northern Ontario kind of thing where you're hitting up like Muskoka, Sawdust, Lake of Bays and all that stuff. But it's not like they don't give you a pamphlet where you can go to the brewery, pay for your samplers or whatever, have somebody autograph it, and then if you hit 10, they give you a shirt or whatever the hell it was,
Yeah.
right? It was like that kind of incentive based, like
Stamp your passport. Each one
like
you go
a
to.
partnership of some kind, right?
yeah,
Like,
because
yeah.
like yes,
Drink local.
all business is kind of in competition, right? Like businesses are kind of in competition, but there's no reason why you can't be mutually beneficial. And that's something that always drove me insane. It's like you're fighting the same fight, so like why not, you know, approach something that like I know you're dealing with and try to overcome it together, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, Nick, I'm going to throw an idea at you, and this is something that I did push some other individuals in town back in my consulting days. But honestly, and the reason why you're saying this, you know, these guilds, you know, like doing this, everyone get together, it doesn't just help, you know, it helps the promotion. A huge promotion, and the thing is, because these beer companies aren't like they're marketing with their own private marketing dollars, and you're marketing against national marketing dollars like the Molsons and Labatt's and all that shit. So this allows you guys to say, hey, guess what? We drink local. Or if it was food, guess what? You get every non-franchise privately owned restaurant in Timmins or North Bay, Sudbury, and you get, you know, we'll get together, we release this marketing together, say, hey, where can you go eat today? Where can you go? Here's the local spots. We eat local. Everyone, if you have that restaurant, you have that badge in the front door, and you guys pool your money together to market as much as you can in order to keep up with the Boston Pizzas and East Sides, because those guys have not only just radio shit and newspaper ads, they have TV during the biggest freaking sporting events.
The Jays are on, like
Boston Pizza. So like,
Yeah.
it's that's the thing, is you have to have that. Like, that's what these beer companies have done in Maine. That's what they should do here, right? Why don't they? These companies have to come together and do this together. Say, guess what? Let's get together. Let's do it. Eat local, drink local, and make that group. That's what they have to do.
I've been kind of blown away with Timmins and the actual events and shit that are taking place here. North Bay had very little, right? And like,
Wow, you know, $6 million of gambling away.
So Nick, wait, I'm going to stop you there for 1 second because this has been another recurring theme on this podcast. Is I'd like to get people to weigh in on the Stars and Thunder
Concert series.
Yeah.
Should we call it concert series, fiasco, debacle,
Festival.
festival,
Right?
See,
That's
that's what I like to call it. We've had a range of opinions about it, and I think between Jay and I, we've been more or less in agreement about this thing. Right? Mm-hmm. Is that we thought it was a net positive. We've had the mayor on to much the chagrin of the Timmins Taxpayers Association.
They don't like us.
They
really don't like us.
Do you care?
No.
Give a flying fuck.
Fucking deal. Just fucking deal.
Oh yeah, I didn't like that. Anyways, yeah, I would like to know from somebody who looks at this from
the outside perspective.
Yeah, from either an outside perspective or even from a small business perspective.
Okay,
right?
fair enough. Like I, as mentioned earlier, like I'm not familiar with the political landscape of Timmins at all, right? And I've heard enough stuff that's kind of like there should be a reality television show about it. But I'm kind of coming in blind, and I was blown away by the fact that they threw together a concert in Timmins, of all places, that lasted 8 days and had Keith Urban as a headliner. That's ridiculous. Whereas like North Bay has Summer in the Park, which is like the attempt to resurrect Heritage Festival. And it's got, what, they had who the hell do they even have? Some tribute band or something?
I remember Dropkick Murphys played a couple
years
back,
ago. Yeah,
and that was great.
But it's they don't really have
Really
any...
cutting out his fucking like argument from at the knees right now.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying this as some guy who likes
Dropkick
bands nobody else
Murphys.
likes.
So there's not a hell of a lot going on,
No.
and the people that they're getting to show up to this concert in North Bay aren't exactly like driving ticket sales, you know. And like, fun fact, right? You spend money in order to make money is like the line that everybody drops all the time.
Yeah.
So if you're going to turn around and throw a bunch of money at somebody like Keith Urban, and then you have the ticket sales, like for a first time festival.
Yeah.
I think they did a pretty damn good job, and that is just like
They lost money.
Totally.
They lost money.
But
Yeah.
I also think of it from the standpoint that like I would find it hard to believe that the surrounding businesses and whatnot did not benefit from having something of that nature. Right?
Hotels, anything.
Exactly.
Restaurants.
Hotels, restaurants, like
Everything.
a fucking corner store. I don't give a shit,
Yeah.
right? But like you're gonna benefit from having something like that. And it's super cool that they're doing it again, because I mean, you do it the first time, and it's a crapshoot, right? You're like, oh, I hope I didn't fuck this up, and that's essentially all you're doing. So to have done it last year and then come in this year and learn from your mistakes, like that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, 100%.
So what I would love to see from festivals like this is promoting local content, right? So like, whether it be through local musicians and whatnot, but also like, I don't know about Stars and Thunder, but like, I know for me, when I was in North Bay, I'd have to pay like $4,000 to get to Summer in the Park. I was going to say parking lot because it wasn't a parking lot.
Summer in the parking lot.
Or yeah, so
What a draw.
This is its effect.
yeah. Well, it's like it was on the waterfront, and now it's in a parking lot. So there's that. But like you're not promoting businesses like the local guys to actively participate, and you're dealing with shit like having to have $5 million liability insurance, for example. Right? That's something that if I, as a restaurant in North Bay, wanted to participate in a function or event that the city is doing, I had to upgrade my insurance in order to participate. But at my restaurant, I had $2 million liability insurance, and I could have served food anywhere in the city, and that pissed me off to no end. That is like, why? Like, I could sit outside and serve, right? Like, obviously you can't, but like for argument's sake, let's say you can,
could,
right?
Yeah.
Or you can do a catering job somewhere and still the $2 million's fine.
Right, and not have to deal with that. So it's like you're putting up
Some barriers.
roadblocks, and it's all cash, right? Just pay whomever, whether it's
The insurance company, whatever.
the city to have a permit to participate and blah blah blah. And like on top of that, if there's any like sales sharing bullshit, like that's red flag for me. And like I'm already having to pay to participate, and then you're gonna take some of my sales. Like get bent, bud.
So for this one, Stars and Thunder, it's from what I understand, it's not a sharing thing. From what I understand, I could be wrong. Not a sharing, but it's you got to pay. Your permit to get in is like a $5,000 permit.
Most of them are, right? Like you should do one or the other.
Yeah,
right?
one or the other. Absolutely.
If you're waiving the payment up front and you want percentage sales, okay. But it also shouldn't be like 50%.
Yeah, something reasonable. Yeah.
Because again, there's no incentive for the business to actively participate.
Yeah.
So
but you get your name out there. I hate that argument.
No,
I hate that argument of stuff.
Well,
it still costs money. Man.
I know.
They throw that at bands all the time,
Yeah.
like to not pay people to do shit. It's like, well, look at the opportunity you've been given.
What's your time worth?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
What's your time worth? Because
Exactly.
that's the thing that gets me is like, you can go to an event and as a restaurant, you show up, you have to pay to participate. You have to buy product to sell, prepare that product. There's labor associated with that. There's a labor associated with having to sell the fucking stuff, right? It's just like people fail to grasp that part. They just look at it like you have something, hand it to them, collect money. There's so much other shit going on.
And I feel like I feel like I get the idea of the reason why whoever's putting on the show, whether it be a private promoter or the city, they put on this festival and they say, all right, well, this is how much it costs for you to participate in this. Like, I get that idea because they're worried about recouping their costs.
Yeah, totally. It makes sense, right? Like,
but I feel like you have to have, and it's tough. It's tough in, I guess, an elective democracy where you have this, like, a 4-year window, essentially, right? Where you kind of, like, your shit can't be a massive failure for 4 years and then you expect to get reelected, right?
but if you build it, they will come. Right?
No, I get it. I completely get it.
But there comes a point that it's like you can't have the field of dreams mentality to
Forever
conduct
Yeah.
business.
I get that
Like-
too. Yeah, you got to know when to jump ship.
Yeah.
But the idea being is that if you're able to nurture and foster this good local business atmosphere, that ultimately in the long run, and it may take 10 years for all of that to develop, that is healthier for the community
Absolutely.
than if you're just cutting the legs under any of your local businesses just so you can say you broke even on this concert, right?
Yeah.
And you had relatively no involvement. Like, one of the biggest criticisms of Stars and Thunder last year was the fact that there weren't enough food vendors. There was 2
really?
food trucks, or wait, 3?
Yeah,
Something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, it very, very limited, and it wasn't terrible food, but it was just people had to wait for a long time to get their food. Booze, no problem. People got their booze really quick.
Priorities.
I mean, a lot of liquid lunches.
Yeah, barley sandwiches.
But I mean, for an event where people would obviously be worried about over-serving and shit like that, like, you want to make sure you balance that out with having people be able to get food. Where they're looking at the lineups and they go like, "Fuck this! I'm not getting a poutine. I'm going to get a beer."
Yeah.
Like, that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not a problem for you and I because we evidently have our alcoholism under control.
Functioning alcoholic, yeah. Yeah, like any business that has a liquor license would kind of attest to that, right? That, like, overconsumption is a major issue, and the policing of it is actually pretty intense. Like, they'll do plants and all kinds of stuff, whereas, like, the fake family shows up and have a youngster and it's like, here, have the beer, and if you don't catch that shit, like, you're getting written up.
Are you serious?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Sneaky motherfuckers.
And rightfully so, though, right? Like, that's a pretty major deal. Yeah, so if you're having issues where, okay, even backpedaling, you go places that they have, like, oh, if you buy Coors, we'll throw your name into a pack or whatever, and you might win a fridge or some bullshit. That's illegal.
They do that everywhere.
Exactly. But so you're promoting overconsumption with the promise of potential reward, right? So it's like that kind of shit is, like, really taboo, and even, like, the bracket based, like, gambling shit, because it's Alcohol Gaming Commission, right? You can't do that shit, but it's not actively enforced. But if one day you had somebody come in and they fucking put the hammer down, like, what are you gonna do? Like, bye-bye liquor license, right?
Yeah.
So it's you're kind of rolling the dice if you have a major event like that, and then they have their liquor license pulled. Like, you want to talk about making money, right?
Yeah. You're finished. Had like a festival like that, there's no booze. Like, now suddenly you're worried about paying people, and
right.
I guess the city doesn't really have to worry. They just raise our taxes again.
So, Nick,
I don't pay it.
So, Nick, I want to, like, get you to backpedal a bit here. So, like, you're saying, you're impressed that the city, Timmins of all places, had an event like this. We've had now lawyers, different type of business owners, other professionals, politicians, all have been for this idea. And, like, young, old, different type of people. It seems everyone we've had on have been for this type of event, or more or less sort of
Some
event.
were skeptical. Anybody we had on they came on before, some people were, they weren't necessarily in the tank for it. They're like, ooh, it seems expensive.
But some of them are okay. So this thing from accounts anywhere from 30 to 600,000, depending on how you want to look at it. So a city to have go into the whole 600,000. So spent $6 million, only made 5.4. So are you are you okay with a community like this, now that you're in this community and work in this community and live in this community, with them spending that money? And do you think that, are you for or against that? And do you think that the spin-off dollars came up
Are
enough to cover
beneficial?
that, and cover that loss?
I think that it is beneficial to the community as a whole, and specifically as a former business owner, like you're driving sales, you're helping the community in that sense. Ultimately, like you can't continuously do that because I know no business can function at a $600K loss annually, right?
No.
Like the only place or only people that get away with that shit is government. Period. Right? Run deficits forever. Right?
Yes.
I would love to be
In government?
a business owner who can function like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like with no repercussions. God damn it. Anyway.
but there's a discussion to be had there, because I do think, like, people like to compare business and government a lot. Like, say, I've heard this over the past 2 years.
Run it like a business.
It's
run government like a business.
very difficult to do.
Like, government's not meant to be a business, and I get the idea of government being there to maintain essential services, but you need a tax base in order to maintain those essential services, and a tax base, like, people can fucking vote with their feet there. Like, people don't have to live here. You can't build a wall around Timmins.
Tell Trump that.
Maybe you can. Black, make Timmins great again. Build that wall.
Make Timmins, man.
Make Timmins man again. That's good. Good slogan. But what I'm saying is that one of the things that I've kind of learned through thinking about this stuff a little bit more is the fact that
Wow, he's thinking about things.
I'm thinking. I'm
Don't
contemplating
think too
things. I used to have a beer and I could stroke.
Just reach over here.
No kidding. Anyways, what I was going to say is that one of the things I feel like I've learned is that we need to attract people to stay here, and people who aren't necessarily only staying here because of the mining jobs.
Right.
And
The professionals and other
people
stuff.
want to plant roots, and not that there's anything. It's not that you want to change the demographics of Timmins. It's that you maybe want to diversify
Yes.
the demographics of Timmins so that we're able to have people who stay here.
Did you know that mining is a non-renewable resource?
No.
What? Right? Yeah.
I don't know. We got some
I
dinosaurs.
don't know.
that we
I get that.
Or I don't know.
You
I
just
don't know if
plant
don't
the
understand
rocks again.
Yeah, I don't know if you understand how fossil fuels work.
Yeah, dinosaurs get converted.
They die. After a while, they convert to fuel. You can pump that shit out. Hey, we have plenty of wars happening right now. I'm just saying we can start that process. It's a little like there's a lag.
Yeah.
It's gonna take a while.
a little bit of a delay. We're gonna have to.
Couple million year.
We're gonna need some government investment.
long term.
I'm not just run
planning.
deficits. It's fine.
I'm not just planning for my next election. I'm planning for the future.
It's the future. You have the future generation in mind. Fuck climate change. Anyways, but we do need to have these people want to stay in Timmins and plant roots in Timmins and want to raise their families in Timmins.
Yeah, you're trying to promote growth in the community.
And how do you do that if what you're doing is looking at the ledger and you're going like, oh, this shit doesn't look good. Let's make sure that we start running on a shoestring budget and cut and slash and burn, right? Well, now you're starting to eat away at yourself, right? And you say, oh well, we can't afford to spend on this and can't afford to spend on that, or debenture this or debenture that. So we're only going to focus on essential services. Well, now if all you're doing is pumping water in and out of people's homes and picking up garbage, then
Attracts a lot of people. Wow.
Yeah, you
It
can't
doesn't
justify
attract people.
charging people an exorbitant amount for taxes.
exactly
either, right?
people die.
Yeah.
Nobody moves in, your population base shrinks, and then suddenly you're like, all it takes is one large employer to shut down, or multiple large employers to shut down, and your Smooth Rock falls.
Yeah.
Cobalt.
There you go.
That's a
There you
mining
go.
community that's granted might be on the way up.
Yeah.
Might be on the way up.
because they found a whole bunch of
Cobalt. Weird.
Cobalt. Weird.
Yeah. Who knew?
Interesting. Do you
selenium.
want to try some little game?
Yeah. What are we playing?
What are we on time right now? Are you good?
Oh fuck, we're good.
Okay, we're good. All right.
Good.
So today we are going to play
How long do you think
another.
we've been going for?
An hour and change.
An hour and 21 minutes.
It goes by pretty
That's
fast.
good.
Who's
Yeah.
keeping track?
Yeah,
Yeah,
nobody.
exactly. No one.
We're just catching up. We friends catching up.
Yeah, it's been what, 2 beers?
That's it.
Yeah. So we are going to play the Rotten Tomatoes game, which once again we did not create. We stole from another podcast. Yeah. You should rinse these out though. If you're
Yeah,
gonna do
absolutely.
corners. Yeah. So the Rotten Tomatoes game. So Mr. Gignac, I'm going to explain how this game works. So essentially,
I hope your explanation's better than your directions, but go on.
oh, fuck that. It was perfect. Anyways, I'm going to
Fucking
just
Darth Vader and shit. Like,
I'm going to say the essentially year and title and actors of a film. You will guess what the Rotten Tomato score, top critic Rotten Tomato score is for that film. And it's going to be between you and Mr. McGee. And at the end, we're going to tabulate all the scores for the different movies we're going to do. And whoever has the lowest score wins. If you get it on the money, you get a 5-point deduction. So actually, like you
golf.
benefit. Yeah, it's golf.
Before we start, I must warn you, I am terrible at this game.
He actually really is. It's incredible.
Didn't I think?
just allow me to get my phone out real quick.
No cheating. Phone's away.
Didn't I
So-
think
Fine.
Blade Runner was like a 54?
Yeah. And you also got to remember, these are top critics, so it's not the audience score. So you have to take that into account what type of film it is. So today's theme is going to be revolving around chefs and food.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird.
Wow, what a
Why?
coincidence!
Why?
One of my favorite ones is when we had Adam McKay. We did Adam McKay movies. He caught on the second
That was
movie.
good.
He's like, "Oh, I got this."
I understand what's going on. Did I make all these movies?
All right, so our first film, a 2007 film, directed by Jan Pinkava and Brad Bird. It is, in a hilarious new animated adventure, Ratatouille. A rat named Remy dreams of becoming a great chef. So this
Lived
is...
in a hat.
listen, Hass. So the film is
So realistic.
Ratatouille.
Yeah, the health unit never stopped by that restaurant for the record.
So we're going to start with...
French health unit.
We're going to give Nick a break. We're going to go... Corey's going to go first.
I'm going first.
Wait.
Ratatouille.
Wait. Price is Right rules?
No.
$1.
No, above or below, doesn't matter. Above or below. It's a difference. It's a spread.
I'm going to say... I think critics would have liked that movie. My kids liked it.
They're crazy.
Animated? Does animated help, though? Or
Yeah,
does that hurt the score?
No, I don't think it hurts the score.
It's a
because
Pixar
I
film.
think they're like you. They look at it in the context of it being an animated movie. And, like, it's a 91
That's
in
right.
animated movies. That's my...
You're going 91?
91.
All right. Mr. Gignac. What was yours?
91 out of 100? James?
Out of 100. So, Rotten Tomatoes, 100. Fresh, I believe that's 60, I believe. Or like 50. 55? Anyways.
Something like that.
91. That's what he is.
78.
You're doing 78. Ratatouille, with a top critics is rated at a score, a certified fresh score of 96.
Oh! So I'm better... you know what? I think time off has refined... that's what I've been doing this entire time, is just watching movies.
Just memorizing scores.
Just
I mean,
on yeah,
Rotten
Google the
Tomatoes.
whole time. Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes.
All right, this next film
Okay, I kind of get the premise now.
is a 2009 film directed by Nora Ephron. Based on 2 true stories, intertwines the lives of 2 women who, through separated by time and space, are both at loose ends until they discover that that with the right combination of passion, fearlessness, and butter, anything is possible. The 2009 film Julie and Julia.
Oh, good God.
Julia Childs?
It's it is based
Yeah,
off
yeah,
of the chick cooks through
Starring
Is it
yeah,
Meryl Streep
Meryl
and
Streep and
Amy
Amy
Adams?
Adams.
Okay.
Hey, you're talking about Meryl Streep. You're talking about big time Oscar here.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to say it sucked.
but Nora Ephron, does that say something?
I don't know who
But
Nora Ephron is.
but Meryl Streep, rom-coms.
Okay, I've
essentially.
seen the movie and it's god awful.
All right.
Is it that bad? Okay.
I
So is he just throwing
right.
you? You're going first. He might just be
he's
throwing you.
throwing
granted I hate it.
I'm going to give it a
so doesn't mean
73.
73.
Is that bad?
Ooh,
I don't
73.
remember if
Price
that's bad.
Price is Right.
No, not price. It's a spread. It's a
No,
spread.
it's a
Right now,
spread,
he's
yeah.
spread's winning.
65.
65.
It's fucking garbage. And if it's higher than that, I'm gonna be pissed.
Julie and Julia is rated at a certified fresh score of 75.
Oh shit!
Damn.
As if how am I doing this?
I don't know.
Usually we have like the score projected up there after.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, well, I didn't do it. TV's not on either. All right,
that's
so
the point.
the next film is a 2015 film directed by John Wells. Chef.
I know him.
It's about Chef Adam Jones had it all and lost it. The former
Bradley
infant
Cooper.
terror, terror of the Paris restaurant scene, has earned 2 Michelin stars. The film is, of course, Burnt. 2015.
Have you seen it?
No.
It's a good movie.
It's good?
Again, I'm biased as hell, right? Like, if I see a restaurant-related film and I'm like, well, this is dumb. It's some chick who's now famous because she cooked through a cookbook. Yip-de-doo.
So I'm going to say
Right?
it's
Like-
starring Bradley Cooper, Sienna Miller, Lily James, Uma Thurman, Emma Thompson, and Daniel Bruhl.
Yeah, that's a lot of star power
They
there.
also, if I'm not mistaken, didn't get nominated for any Academy Awards for that film.
So that could be telling.
Travesty.
Or
It was a good movie, though. But
is it a critic darling, or is that telling? That's who knows. He might be throwing you again.
again,
Throwing you.
it's
he's
helping me.
He's
right?
throwing you, but then going on worse scores.
Throwing you a bone, man. Throwing you a bone. that's it.
He's slow playing this. Just get ready.
Making them comfortable, and then watch
84.
84. Mr. Gignac.
82.
Oh, fuck
82.
off.
Bob, right?
What is it, Bob?
83. Fuck.
Burnt is rated rotten
What?
at 29%.
Really?
All critics have it at. Actually, you know what? Oh no! So we weren't we weren't going top critics. We were going all critics score. Lucky we were all critics score because top critics was at 10%. Sorry, but the audience has a 44. So not
What?
great, but
Really?
much higher, but twice as high. Sorry, we are going all critics. We're not going top critics.
So I shouldn't watch this movie?
I really enjoyed that movie.
Burnt.
And maybe it's because, I live that life and can relate to, like,
Maybe.
he has his penance of shucking 1,000 oysters or what, 1,000,000 oysters or some shit, and when he's done, he just drops his shit and walks away. He wants to punish himself, so he shucks a bunch of oysters. I'm like, yeah, I get that.
Is that on Netflix?
It was. I don't think it is anymore.
Gonna have to download it.
Chef was, though, with...
Yes, John Favreau. That's a
I
great
really
movie.
like that movie.
So this next one is a 2009 film. It's actually a documentary directed, written, and produced by Robert Kenner. Lifts a veil on our nation's food industry, exposing
Hell's
the highly mechanized underbelly that has been hidden from the American consumer with the consent of our government's regulatory agencies. It is a 2009 film, Food Inc.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say what the hell.
No.
Like,
Kyrie
This-
Irving.
fuck. Really? Food Inc.
Food Inc.
Food Inc. I've seen Food Inc.
Solid doc, not bad doc. Little.
It's
Never gonna convince me to not eat meat.
Oh, yeah,
kind of skewed.
I think I watched it and went straight to McDonald's. So,
Go, this-
Yeah,
this
I'm
film
hungry
is-
now, right?
You know what? They had a lot of chickens there. Looking for some nuggets right now.
20 nuggets, please. Yeah, when you find out that the protein percentage is like 6,
Yeah.
you're like, maybe not.
Well, like this isn't the same one, but there was the one on food waste. I actually did like that doc more. I'm not sure if you saw
Food
that.
waste. There's a lot of fucking food
Yeah,
waste.
they're talking about-
That I buy that shit.
expiry dates and all that shit, which are complete horse shit.
It's
that
disgusting.
that right there. I'm all for this. I'm like, once again, it's the whole thing. Oh, GMOs. Give me a fucking break with GMOs. It's
Everything's
a fucking
Everything's-
GMO.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I am a GMO.
Yeah. Did you hear? Was it Neil deGrasse Tyson's explanation
Yeah.
on GMOs? That kind of like turned me around. I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I guess you're right. We have been genetically modifying dogs forever.
Yeah. Well, even like the argument for organics,
Yeah.
it's such horseshit. Like you can have a certified organic farm that's in the Amazon rainforest, and you've got Chilean sea bass that's certified organic. But you've raped and pillaged the Amazon, and then you're going to take this certified organic fucking product and ship it to Kirplakistan or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, never mind that.
I don't think
shit.
Kirplakistan eats much beef though. I'm
Fish,
just saying.
right?
Or fish.
But like you got to think of your carbon footprint as opposed to just like the
Yeah.
Or the lowly hunter who goes out and fucking goes Bambi blasting,
Yeah.
and now what? Like, that deer's not organic
Yeah, I
because
know.
you don't know what it ate, yet it was like hopping around in the woods wild, moments ago. Piss off.
Yeah,
I hate that.
Well, I can't stand the whole GMO argument and all that shit. But the food waste, 100% on board. All right, so anyways, Food Inc.
Food Inc. 73.
I'm gonna do 78. I'm just gonna stick to 78 all the time, and that'll be that.
Food Inc. Certified fresh at 95%.
What? Oh, a lot of gullible people out there.
So the last one is a. It's funny.
Suffice to say, you've won.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a tendency. This has happened to me before, where I was like clearly in the lead.
Blows it at the
up
end.
to the last one, and then I'm like, "This movie sucks." I give it a 2.
So it's funny how Nick mentioned multiple different films. This is a 2014 film about Chef Carl Casper suddenly quits his job as a prominent LA restaurant after refusing to compromise his creative integrity.
molten.
It is
I love that movie.
directed, written, and starring Jon Favreau. The movie is Chef.
It's just fucking-
I loved it. I
That
loved
movie's
it.
so good,
So
and
good.
and the grilled cheese he
Oh
makes
God,
his
that's
kid
Dude,
is
the Cubano sandwich
Oh, no,
that
no.
he's pumping out. Of
Oh, the
goddamn
sandwiches are
food truck.
fantastic,
I'm
but
like,
there's that
"Whoa."
one scene like they slow play that grilled cheese. So something about that, like they just sit it
Is
and
it panini
he's
and
laying just cheese on it in his little,
got-
in his awesome little,
got
you
the
know,
bread there,
Yeah.
The- honestly, the setup where he does his like kind of Mexican or Cuban themed dinner, like for the new menu thing,
Yeah.
and he's got all the spreads out. You're like, there's like instant.
Yeah.
Fully torqued as a restaurant guy. I'm like, man, the fucking colors and textures and shit, and you're just like, oh my god, I'm gonna like just piggyback this entire menu.
when the scene where he's cooking for the chick there, and it's just like kind of sitting there in his bed, like just waiting. Like, are you done making my meal yet? It's like, this is better than any sex scene I've seen in a mainstream movie in a long time.
I would argue like a chef, and you could probably discuss this or expand on this, but like I would argue chef, I think could pull in enough tail, quietly pull in tail. Compared to other jobs, like a insurance company assessor
us, Nick.
might not pull in the tail as much as other, or a lowly grad student might not. But other job, I think this job would quietly pull in more tail.
So I'm going to take this a bit further, and I can tell you that I'm the best wingman ever.
The best wingman ever.
Now, like at Miners, we had a chef's table, right?
Yep.
And there was a frequent flyer at the chef's table who'd come every couple kind of weeks, right? And there was a whole sequence where it was like different gal every time, right? And you're like, all right, it's your date night routine, and like cool, and you just like you're cooking for two and having a bit of a social hour, and like obviously one of these like, oh, hi, how are you? And any allergies that I should be aware of, even though you were here last week with a different chick, like that kind of stuff. Like I can tell you that, like, for sure, I've gotten people laid.
I want to know how much it can get you laid. If I have to tell my son, because I've decided that I'm going to tell my kid
not to play hockey.
put the hockey stick down, grab a guitar, because that's what's going to help you at a party. the fucking
You can
hockey
do
stick?
both.
Well,
Yeah, but I picked him up at the wrong time.
Yeah. And have you been at some of his shows?
I missed the Boxing Day one.
Yeah, some people showed up.
Yeah, some people
Some-
did.
Yeah, some people
Some people
showed
left
up.
early.
Yeah.
Some people showed up.
It was a good show. We had a good time. It was.
Well, I am continuously meaning to come by, and we were driving up from North Bay post Christmas
Yeah, of
shit.
course.
So it was like not happening.
No, I don't
But
blame
you know, it was good. The new song's pretty good. Good melodic sound.
Jay likes to make fun of me because apparently every band that we've had here on the podcast has claimed that their sound is melodic.
And I'm not the only one who's mentioned that. I've been told which I did catch at the time, but everyone said it afterwards. I'm like, you're right. They all have. And if you go back, they all. And whatever, they might all have a melodic sound, but they've all said it, which is kind of funny because at one point it's like, well, it's not that original anymore. Anyways, Chef.
Oh, score. Gotcha.
97.
97.
I'm gonna have blown this. $1, Bob.
92.
92.
I'm biased, though. I really like that movie,
Yeah, it's
too.
fucking great.
Chef.
And the whole Twitter's part, like the social media. Yeah.
Chef is certified fresh at 86%. So Corey might have fucking blown this. So let's try this real quick. Hold on. Dude. It's a little bit harder on the computer here to do my shit. Give me a sec. Boom.
Not an accountant? You can't just do this math in your head and shit?
Oh, fuck that.
Is this not an Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah, I didn't do the formula ahead of time. I usually do. All right.
The suspense is killing me.
All right.
So
one person here kept it in double digits, as the other went to triple digits.
Oh.
But the separation is only 9 points. So still, it was a close call. Nick, you can be happy to know that you beat Corey in the final 2 rounds.
Oh, wow.
And probably one of the best first-time appearance and first-time attempts at this game I've ever seen.
Don't pump my tires, man.
So gracious.
It's like, piss off.
You did so well that you won yourself a second place win. Corey, you won 95 to 104.
I thought you were going to say a second appearance on the podcast.
I don't get
he's
that.
not coming back.
Yeah.
He's not coming back.
It's
okay.
done.
It's okay. Corey, you can do it at like my place and I'll cook and fuck this guy.
Oh,
There we go. See? You and I can
I
do
just
the
want to
podcast
shut
now.
the mic off anyway half the time, right?
we turn that shit back up.
So now
Did you actually put it down? Or?
No, you're back up. You're up. So now that we
That was good. That was good. But
this
Chef,
is a good Rotten Tomatoes game. I like that one.
that was a good one. You guys blew it in a couple. Burnt was the problem.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
burnt. I mean,
I really like burnt. So
Yeah.
like,
I think you skewed my my fabricated opinion of the movie because I've never fucking seen it.
If it wasn't for the first 2 that Corey had that were like a 5 off and 2 off, you had it. But that was essentially it.
Well, now we're going to be getting into something new, and
fancy beer.
this guy
Should I
here,
look
this
it
is
up?
like fancy beer.
Let me look up
No. Nick's got a good.
Describe
a
this.
good,
But I want a good voice.
Yeah, it's true. You got to give us the Jason Bosno voice.
Yeah, I don't do that.
You don't do that shit?
No, fuck that.
All right.
You gotta wet my panties
Talk
here.
to us a
No,
little bit
I-
about what we're going to be drinking here, please.
I cook for people, and it's like the equivalent of Deuce Bigelow, right? Like women pay me to give them pleasure, but I cook for them, and then other people get laid.
It's not quite like the movies.
No.
He cooks for his dad pretty often.
This is a malt and wheat beer. So it's actually made in conjunction with like arguably the best chef in the world, and I say arguably only because he no longer has a restaurant, but he had the best restaurant in the world for several years in a row, being Ferran Andri at El Bulli. The place doesn't exist anymore, but it was the kind of thing that like you donate a kidney to go have a meal, right? And yeah, but yeah, it's a beer that you actually can't get in Ontario, or I have yet to see it anywhere in Ontario. And first time I picked it up, the missus and I went to Montreal to catch a Rangers and Habs game, and fun fact, New York won.
Yeah.
Was it this year?
Habs
Because I'm not
fucking
surprised with this year.
I don't even think the Rangers have beat the Habs yet this year.
That's sad.
So yeah,
that's
it's
sad.
pretty pathetic. But nevertheless, we went down to catch a game, and then actually we're the kind of people that when we're on holidays, we buy an extra kind of set of luggage to get all the liquor that we bought while we were out. Right. So this was one that like kind of stumbled upon, and buddy at the SAQ is like, you check this beer out because it's a one-off kind of thing. And kind of reading up on the label, and you're like, holy fuck, like it's like, world-renowned chef pairing up with a brewery, and like, no offense to your palate, it sucks, but his doesn't. so it's one of those like,
It's going to knock Jay off his seat. Just
well, I gotta take him down a couple pegs, right? Like,
Somebody has to.
People try.
Jay just
I'm wearing
verbally abuses
plaid.
me all the time.
Well, I'm wearing plaid and I have a beard. I'm the hipster craft beer guy. Right?
No. Jay's not the hipster craft beer guy. Jay is now the starving student,
Yes.
apparently.
Thank you very much.
Who appears to be
45?
gaining weight.
Old English, actually.
Yeah. Well, oldie.
Old
that's right.
English.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. Your body is just holding on to everything. now,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
We actually are going to be doing
Or winter weight.
We want to do a 40 on 40.
Good.
So on a 40th
Ever
episode,
get to 40?
yeah, on our 40th episode, only have 40s.
All right. Is it like Edward 40 hands?
We could do it. We could do Edward 40 hands.
I don't know who's going to set up the equipment, but
I'll show up just to tape shit.
there you go.
But no,
I volunteer
so
as tribute. I got this.
our resident beer hipster guy is Mr. Jonathan Blanche.
John
So
Blanche.
I can't take that. As much as I want you to give me that title, being the hipster douchebag, fake palate, unfortunately, is Corey.
John
It's John Blanche.
John is clearly more of a hipster douchebag than
No,
Jason.
absolutely. He has thick frame glasses,
So there could be two.
beard, mustache.
There could be two.
No.
It's not Highlander of hipsters.
Yes, it is. And I unfortunately have to cut his head off. Best movie ever.
Right?
Best
Sean
TV
Connery's
show ever.
in there, man. Like, come on.
Everything about it's amazing.
Wasn't Sean Connery in what's that fucking movie again?
Everything.
No, I know he was in. Well, he was in The Rock, and that's enough.
Well,
So-
good enough. Done.
Yeah.
Done. Oscar, please.
Yes. Oscars forever.
Yeah.
Please.
Every year. Oh, by the way, remember the film you did 10
20
years
years
ago?
ago. Yeah.
Years ago.
So it looks like it's
Fantastic.
going to be fantastic. So you want to do the honors?
Wait.
What's it called?
Created
tell
by
us.
Ferran Andrea, the world's most awarded winning chef. Right?
Enough said.
And what's the brand and name of it?
I don't even know.
It doesn't need one.
What a salesman.
Need one.
I don't know. It's like a bunch of Spanish shit. Shut up.
I'm telling you, it doesn't need one.
Inedit Damm, apparently, is the brewer.
Well,
Yeah, I
and
don't
it
know.
even sounds good.
Produit de l'Espagne.
Let's just say that psst sounded better than any LaForge song I ever wrote. Jay's like, yeah, no, we're good there.
I've heard them.
Is this you?
Yes. You didn't spit it.
Regarde-moi ça. He didn't even spit in it.
Give it back. There's still time.
I don't like this this attacking Jason bullshit here.
Yeah, you're not
I'm
used to
on
that
the attack
shit.
here. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Having played hockey with you, I know that
I've protected you for
No, I-
years.
That's
you-
bullshit. He's
you-
protected himself.
100% led to opposition attacks all the fucking time.
Okay, just because I would leave for a while and never come back.
Like, oh, I'm offensively inclined all at once. And the giveaway, and that's that.
Before I take a sip, the best memory of Nick playing hockey, me playing with him, was that we were shorthanded playing in our end. They pulled the goalie, and I'm trying to get someone out the front of the net. I'm literally just cross checking. All I hear is Nick yell out, "There's a cocksucker over here!" I turn around, cross check him. He's like, "Oh, back on this side." I turn around, hit him. He literally did like 7 times. I cross check every guy he told me to go hit.
Nick was our quarterback.
Yeah.
He was.
I was
the Tom
actually-
Brady of the Timmins Flyers.
Without the skill and or super insane supermodel girlfriend. I'm not saying hot girlfriend. She probably is.
Like, goddamn,
His
man.
quote unquote supermodel girlfriend that we don't know exists might actually be really hot.
First of all,
I didn't mean to do that. That was not purposely
you're
done.
fucking lucky she's not here.
Oh, she was here. I wouldn't have said
I'm
that
like-
joke.
I should say this. That,
He's like, minus the oh shit, I'm already committed.
I realized, oh, that's not funny. I want this. Yeah. Oh, fuck.
it's okay. You stare in there and you fucking apologize.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Repent, Jason.
Yeah, she'd kick your ass for the record.
Oh, yeah. Well, most
Perfect.
girls
I'd be
do.
surprised.
But I pay
Well,
for it, too.
fucking- She's studying ninjutsu and shit. She kicks my ass all the time. And I like it.
I didn't know ninjutsu was a thing.
Thought it was a knife.
Ninjutsu, like ninja shit, right? So
Yeah.
it's not.
Oh, I thought it was a type of knife, like a kitchen knife. Anyway, sorry.
No. Like the kind of ninja shit that is like throw dirt in your eyes and stab you. And
Yes.
no such thing as a
Legit
fair
as
fight, right?
To be fair, I've studied that as well.
No, you didn't.
I've watched 3 Ninjas. 1, 2,
Karate
and
Kid,
3.
right?
Three Ninjas, yes. They still have not put the original one on Netflix. They have Three Ninjas Kick Back,
They don't have the first one?
where they keep switching the one kid.
Really?
You ever notice that?
No.
In like all of the sequels, there's
It's
like the
the
same
one
two
dude.
older brothers, and the youngest brother is always switched out. I don't know if he died. I don't know.
Okay,
Like-
get on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. Find this shit out. I watched Home Alone and Home Alone 2 over the holidays, obviously,
course.
because they're
Have
fucking
to.
classics, right?
Yes.
And then when Home Alone 2 ended, Home Alone 3 started, and I was actually upset. I had that moment of like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's not.
Yeah.
You
It
don't.
was terrible, and it's like some kid who's not. Well, is he still Kevin McAllister number
No.
3? No, it's just some other kid. His
like,
cousin.
I
It's
don't
like the
know.
American Pie movies. Stifler's like third cousin is also.
Yeah, now you're supposed to care. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah, it was awful.
I saw. Speaking of Home Alone, over this holiday season, I saw a great. Like, you know what? Facebook sucks, but every once in a while, there's a golden meme that comes out of there. And it was just a picture of the McAllister home, and it said, "All throughout my childhood, I wondered, what did Kevin McAllister's dad do for a living?" And it's kind of true, eh? Like, to bring
You're
his
flying
entire
the-
family to Paris on Christmas.
But wasn't it his like brother who was flying him out there that they were going to visit?
No. His brother lived in New York, who was renovating his house. That's in number 2, where he goes out there. And
And
the
I just
first
watched
one-
this, and I don't even.
First one was just a
fucking
holiday, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were just going on a
Christmas holiday.
and he was flying the entire fucking crew.
Yeah, that was a
like
huge-
aunts, uncles,
remember.
cousins.
What gets me too is like parents of the year. That like, how the fuck do you leave the house and not know that your son's MIA?
Well, you've clearly
I don't have
never
kids.
had a problem where you've just like counted your 19 children,
Yeah, well,
or you've delegated that
that's
task
a-
actually
yeah,
to the oldest cousin.
But that's a strong Mormon family, though. Like, let's be honest. 'Cause-
are we going to talk about the greatest like Christmas movie ever? Die Hard.
Oh yes,
see, I want to come up with like a movie that was not that. Like
Eight Crazy Nights.
Something crazy.
yes. Greatest Christmas movie ever. Yes. Greatest Christmas movie that's not actually a Christmas movie, but Die Hard is actually a Christmas movie.
Thank you.
And I love that hashtag was going around. Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
I love that it ended up on like Jay and Dan in the morning, and then
yes,
like Dan just got ripped into. Then he's like, "It's not a Christmas movie." I'm like, "Dude, he says ho 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 and thanks for the machine gun or whatever, right?" It's like,
And it happens on Christmas.
yeah,
Like that's enough right then, right there.
It's not Christmas till Gruber's getting airmailed off Nakatomi Tower.
Goddamn Gruber.
What's the one? It's like this holiday season we remember the real heroes, and it's fucking. I
Uncle
can't.
Phil
I
or
can
whatever.
never remember his name, but it's Carl from Family
Yeah,
Matters.
Yeah.
And is it Carl?
Yeah, it is.
Carl Winslow.
yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
from
it's
Family
Carl.
Matters.
And
He
it's
was
like,
a cop in that movie and,
and
in the show.
Yeah.
yeah, but one's in New York and one's in LA or whatever, right?
They got a
Chicago.
transfer.
Okay.
Chicago.
East Coast, nevertheless.
Yes, that was a great Christmas movie. But I'm pretty sure the next, like, I mean,
The
I
second
love-
one's kind of Christmas too,
is it?
because he's traveling at Christmas time
Yeah, number 3's not.
with a vengeance.
Or like 4 or 5 and whatever
No, but
else.
those don't matter.
Yeah.
Anything
aren't real.
after With a Vengeance is not a Die Hard movie. I guess it kind of is.
what
but
what
anyway.
what gets me? They have all these fucking names for these Die Hard movies, and like it's like Die Harder or
The
whatever.
Hire for Vengeance. And,
and like they have yet to do Old Habits Die Hard,
Oh,
and it
yeah.
fucking angers me.
Maybe they're purposely.
Yeah, just
has
to
it been a
piss me off.
tagline known in any of the movies?
No, I don't think so. I don't think
That
so.
just seems like a low-hanging fruit. Like,
Well, right, and like even the Born Identities, it should be like the Born Redundancy.
yeah.
Yeah,
Way to go.
yeah. There you go. That's. I feel like that
It's
might
like, hey,
not.
Hollywood, I'm available. Oh shit!
Oh man. Well, guys, lo and behold, we are coming up on the 2-hour mark.
2-hour mark. There you
Can you
go.
believe that? We are at the 10-minute warning of the 2-hour mark.
So what
Goes by
is
fast,
the
eh?
2 hour the like cut off, and you're like,
Well, I don't know.
everybody get the fuck out.
Apparently, it takes a fucking long. It takes a lot of effort to watch a 2-hour fucking podcast.
as Nick hasn't watched one because they're all 2 hours.
Nick opens them up and says, "You know what? I'm going to check this interesting podcast out that my friends are doing there." Opens it up. Oh, 2 fucking hours. Fuck that.
Well, I'll watch it. I just mute it.
Just like to watch our faces.
Well, yeah, I missed you guys, right?
Well, we missed you too. We were happy to have you on.
It's weird to be back still, but it certainly makes for an easier transition when there's a bunch of familiar faces and shit, right?
And you come talking to a microphone. Some guy's basement. Some guy's parents' basement. Okay. Before we end this podcast, I don't know.
Let's bitch about some people first.
Yeah, we can bitch about some people. This is.
I'm in.
I think we did a year-end wrap in 2016, right? Like we did a year-end because it was like it was a big year for a podcast.
Yeah.
Like we had a whole bunch of people on all this. Now this year we had relatively few people on, and then like 3 months of break. So we had big plans. We failed them all.
Yep.
And then we had a lot of criticism
For not doing shit? Or
no,
what?
we had criticism. Well, yes, for not doing shit. And also, some people didn't really appreciate when we had local politicians on.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Do you not want to drive the conversation? Like
we thought we wanted to, and I don't know.
Yeah. No. Oh, they did.
He's gonna pour him a little bit more. He says, "Now we want to drive the conversation."
No,
Yeah,
it's
No, it was.
but it wasn't right after, like,
Corey?
right. We had the mayor. It was right after the mayor.
Thank you.
No worries.
Yeah, it was during the mayor one, wasn't it?
Yeah, during the mayor one,
The second mayor, right? Second mayor
We had the mayor on after, or was it? It was right before Stars and Thunder.
You might be right. Yeah. Yeah.
And we felt like the conversation was getting a little bit sour. You know, I felt like people thought we were in the tank, and for some reason,
Like on his part?
Yeah.
Like,
No, on his part, yeah.
no,
No, it was like the people, the response.
yeah,
People.
people,
okay.
people,
I thought you
the
meant,
response that we
No, no,
had.
It's pretty cool you got the mayor on, first of all.
Well,
and you had Charlie Angus
no,
on
because
too, right?
Friends of the show.
Well,
Friends of the show.
listen, Jay's on the gravy train.
Oh yeah, so we
you
found
remember
out.
that.
Yeah.
But that's part of it.
Can
Is
elaborate
it's
on that,
it's
or-
very frustrating.
So yeah, we'll have Corey's kind of going on about this. Like we have people who comment on our stuff. So the one of the people who commented after we had the mayor was, they went on saying, "Well, it's just these two guys doing a radio show in the basement of their parents' basement, going on and on." And it's like, I don't know, man. The guy's like 55. Look at his hairline. Like, dear Lord.
I was so happy. I was so happy when he said that. I said, like, fuck, this guy thinks I'm young enough to live with my parents.
And because
Thank the
that
Lord.
was because the next day we posted it, and like that day I left to go to Hamilton for a wedding, and so I was just uploading and like refreshing all the comments going on, and people were clipjacking the video, just putting like, the mayor would say one line, and they're like, "Can you believe he said this?" And then like McGee's going, "Fucking deal with it," and then they would just take that. So they're just doing it was amazing, and so yeah, people are just like we're going on about that. Then not too long ago, there is a friend of one of the people on the show didn't like that we were I guess being nice to the mayor, and thought that we had our head up his ass. And I guess not too long ago, there was a comment online, and I went on and made a comment saying, well, you know, it's amazing how you guys are saying this, because really, you know, like they said something about the mayor, how he wasn't any good, and how someone else should run instead, and that person who should run instead might have some questionable behavior and past.
Yeah, we're talking about local politicians right now, and I know you're not privy to the entire landscape. But trust me, just follow local news.
So when the camera's
You will
off,
be.
you can film me in.
So anyways, they're going, and I just don't want to get into it too
public
much. But
knowledge.
anyways, some guy then later starts saying, "What do you say about me again? Was that?" I had my head up his ass, and I was on the gravy train. I was on a gravy train, or I'm trying to get elected so I can get onto that gravy train with those millions of dollars that no one could find. And I was like, what?
The sponsorship scandal from the Liberal government.
Exactly. So I went on, and so I started to just be that guy. Say, oh, hey, how's it going?
You'll learn very quickly that it's gotten a little bit cartoonish and ridiculous. There's a lot of conspiracy talk.
Isn't some guy on trial right now?
Yeah, one of our counselors is was charged.
Or
I don't know
or
if he's on trial,
if he's charged or being charged.
Pending,
or
pending corruption,
corruption charges.
municipal affairs, corruptions,
so
whatever.
But you'll find very quickly that it's there's a lot of reasonable people, but none of them participate online. Well, that's not necessarily true. It's there's some people that like want to have a constructive conversation, and like, but a lot of people just they have their heads in the way, like, oh, it's the old boys club, and it's like blah, 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 blah. And one thing that I thought was awesome about having the mayor on, especially the first time, is he kind of enlightened us on like the mechanics of decision making at City Hall.
Well, it's not a dictatorship,
nearly,
right?
Exactly.
Like,
and it's not nearly as like, oh, you elected this person, now they're in charge. You know, they just get to decide what you eat for dinner. And it's
like they're not
and
allowed.
I know I'm being facetious, but like
I decide what the hell you eat for dinner.
that's very true.
Right?
That's very true.
Like
I would leave you that decision. You're
Right,
very competent hands.
like one example is like Heeman mentioned that counselors, like more than whatever, like 3 of them aren't allowed to like be together at, like, go to a restaurant together, but like together, because like if they can possibly form a majority of council, they can't be all out together. So like 2 of them go for a beer, but once it gets to 3, 4, or 5, that starts getting an issue and starts being questionable. So you can't actually go and do that. So like the idea that these guys are all getting together and like just scheming,
backroom deals and shit like that. Like, I think there's. Don't get me wrong. Everybody's got their agenda, right? Like they're politicians. They have, and this is the reason why we elect them, right? Like we elect them because the population believes in what they want to do.
Isn't there like end game to be reelected?
Sure. Like and one of the things that kind of like drove me nuts about the conversation here is that people like lost their minds. They lose their minds about their property taxes here in town. And don't get me wrong, like I understand the argument for property, like why you would go crazy about your property taxes, but the amount of like mental effort that goes into criticizing how your municipal dollars are spent versus how your federal and provincial dollars are spent.
Yeah.
Like and how much
the
more
amount,
of your income like gets gouged away from that, and you don't even see any of it. If there's any level of government that's going to intrude on my life the most, I want it to be my municipal government.
Absolutely.
You know,
that makes sense. They're the ones you're actively dealing with.
Like,
there's the
right?
ones you see that pick up your garbage and pump the water into your house and out of your house. You know, like it's shit like that. Like
literal shit like that.
yeah,
I get it. I see what you did there.
No, but you're right, and people go nuts about it. So we always say, well, what about this? Well, whatever. Blah, blah. It's like they never want to listen to the other side of the argument, which is
I love when you're essentially having a battle of wits with an unarmed man, right? Like you're trying to present facts, and they're just like refuse to see beyond the blinders, and they're just so stuck in their ways. And at that point, like, you're just wasting your breath, right? And like, I've dealt with this shit, even like getting away from the political landscape for a moment. If you're dealing with like restaurant reviews, right? Like that's one that like you live and die by your reputation, right? And I can safely say that politicians are probably along the same lines, right? Yeah. But like you can have somebody who I had a 1-star review on Google, and we weren't even open. You know,
makes sense.
And I'm like, okay, it was you.
Him.
It was you. Yeah,
It was you.
Yeah. But like
that
kind of shit. That it's just like I couldn't imagine being a politician because of that. Because like every waking moment you're under a microscope, and like you even talking about you can't go for a beer with a couple buddies if they're involved, and like or I wonder if they're active in the community, whether they're business owners or whatever, that they may consider like insider, trade, whatever the hell the term is, right? But like, if someone's getting preferential treatment because you're buddies.
And it's a small community. Like, everybody, you're going to know people, you know?
Everyone's dirty laundry, all that shit. And one thing you're saying about the restaurant review, just I always think it's funny, a quick little thing is that I always find it funny when like you'll see like, Facebook reviews and all that stuff, and you'll see it has, 86 5 stars and 40 something 4 stars and 1 star. You're like, okay, dude, obviously you're in the fucking minority here.
Yeah.
what the fuck? And like their shit's always the most pointless. And if they do say anything, it's the most pointless shit possible. It's like, I can make better wings at home on my own. It's like,
then do that and shut
then
up.
Is that a 1? Like, shut the fuck up. I don't think it's funny.
Yeah,
But-
I can't say that. Well, now I can, I guess.
But one thing I want to say is one guy we had on who I friends with, know him very well, but in like Corey is not part of that political persuasion, but you have it's if you get a chance to speak with Gilles Bisson and just speak to him about stuff, because he's the first one who'll say the city has no way to fucking leverage money in any way, and he talked about it's the senior level governments that can do this, and that's who you should be arguing with. It should not be arguing with the city. The city is doing municipal housing because it got downloaded by the feds.
Yeah.
The city's doing this because it's downloaded by the province. They're doing this because it got downloaded by whoever. It's like he's like, those are the guys you're talking about, because guess what?
Their hands are tied.
Their hands tied. They only have one way to raise money.
Municipalities are hurting.
Yeah. And he's the first, and he's on like, and honestly, you might have your opinions on NEP and all that stuff, but like that guy, if you put him in downtown Toronto, like compared to an NEPer, that guy's a conservative, like 100%. Like he is not an NEPer in the sense of people think of a social progressive and all that stuff. He is socially progressive, but he's not to that level.
He's still around, because he was around when.
30 some odd years, man.
I'm sure.
Senior. He's the godfather of that part.
Friend of the show.
He knows Military Dan well. I know that much. My old man and him probably had many conversations pertaining to mining bullshit.
Yeah,
I believe it.
And then that's a guy, like, he's the one he'll go and argue about, like, the fucking Endangered Species Act. He's like, this is horseshit. This is not something that was thought of, and this is made. It was made downtown Toronto. It was not made with input of actual people who live in that area.
Exactly.
Because there's no fucking caribou around Timmins. Don't want to tell you. I don't like. You can't find one. So it's like a shit like that. So like. That guy, if you have a chance, man, I gotta say was great discussion.
Chat with him.
He was awesome. Noella was awesome. I would say she was one of my favorite ones, and everything with Steve was great too.
But if there's anything,
I don't know anybody on council. Like, I've yet to really, have the opportunity to meet anyone.
Watch a couple council meetings. Actually, you know what?
I'm coming in blind, right? Like.
What I started doing is because I would watch all the council meetings, and this is kind of how this like whole thing started. Was me and Jay would like watch council meetings and then argue
together.
Oh yeah, we're super fun.
We're super cool.
While
our wives played hockey. Right? While our wives played hockey.
Our wives would go play hockey. I get dropped off here because I have to watch after the kid.
So who wears pants?
Between two of us?
Or I guess
a skirt guy.
The gals wear the pants. Is what I'm getting.
Well,
at.
they call me what it's what the term is, a power bottom.
Okay.
It's, I'm still pretty butch, but
yeah, I see by the shirt and beard.
Good God!
Oh yeah, this is also why I can't run for politics anymore. This show.
Jay has submarined his entire political future.
Well, be sure to tell that to the guy who thinks you're after the gravy train. Right?
I know.
You're like, I did this show specifically, so I can't have that.
So I can't.
Yeah.
The one thing, though, if I wish for anything to change in 2018, is that the conversation become more constructive.
Yes.
And that, like, people don't jump to corruption all the time. Mm-hmm. And I know, like, we haven't been as regular as we'd like to be with this podcast. We're going to work on maybe becoming less frequent than we were originally, but more regular than we have been recently.
There might be some changes, but we're figuring that out, and we are going to get this going well. We'll be a well-run machine. After a while.
I think so. This started as a bit of a gong
giggles.
show and for fun, but we'll try to get some people out of some roles and into more management roles. Let's call it that. Some people got to be the investors in this shit, right?
Yeah.
So they're taking on all the risks.
Exactly. It's 100%. We're coming full circle again.
I gotta say though, I appreciate the shout out to even be on here just to shoot the shit and have beers with you guys, because I haven't been able to do that since 04.
Hey,
there you go.
Shit, eh? Cheers to that.
So
cheers. I keep drinking the beer.
That is the point, I think.
Anyways, Jason, you always have a sign off for us, and you haven't even looked one up.
I didn't even think about it.
No. You gotta think off the top of your head. Think of something inspiring that we can just. I'm gonna make
this
a
is
meme
fucking
tomorrow.
dangerous.
Whatever he's gonna say, I'm gonna make a meme tomorrow, and it'll be like, quote Jason Busno.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
It'll be quote. I got nothing. Jason Busno.
Yeah.
I got nothing, but I got beer.
Hey,
There you
cheers to that. All right.
There-
Cheers, guys.
You're left
I'm
out. You
empty.
got nothing.
Thanks so much for joining us this week. We'll see you guys again on the next one.
Yeah, in 6 months.
Well, we get here.